Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, I hate some of the books that you love, and that's okay. So in December, I read and talked about on the channel this book, Phoenix Force Book 4, Tigers of Justice by Garl Wilson. So I talked about it in at least one weekly wrap-up and in my monthly wrap-up as well. And nobody in the comments said, Ollie, that book looks terrible. Why would you read that book? It looks awful. But I'm sure that many people were thinking that. This book is about some ninjas who take over a nuclear power plant and then get taken out by the Phoenix Force. So it is not by any means great literature. But I know that some of the people who watch my videos are people who do, mostly read more literary works and who wouldn't read a book like this in a million years. But everyone is too polite to say in the comments, Ollie, that book looks crap. And that's a lovely thing, yeah? I think one of the things that's wonderful about BookTube is, and bookish communities generally, is they tend to be quite polite and respectful. When you compare online discussions about books to online discussions about movies, I think there is a huge gulf between them in terms of the civility of those discussions. People are much more likely to get worked up about and go into battle in defence of like a singer or a band or a movie or a director that they really, really feel passionately about than they are about a book that they feel passionately about, in my experience anyway. And I think the reason for that is really simple. I think what unites us as a community of book lovers is our love of books and our love of reading. But when you think about like online communities for movies and music, they're much more likely to be about a particular movie or director or a particular artist or album even, or whatever. They tend to be more focused. Whereas the online book communities at most tend to be focused around a particular genre. So they may be focused around, like crime books or horror books or sci-fi books or whatever. But they don't tend to go much more low level than that. Whereas, movie fandoms will be about a particular movie series, for example. And the people who are in those fandoms will be, much more likely to go up against members of another fandom and argue the toss about which is the better one. And I think the thing that unites us as book lovers is the fact that we love books and we love reading. And I think we are respectful of each other's, choices and tastes and things like that within that. And I think the reason for that is that as readers, we sometimes feel a bit isolated. If you watch people's BookTube newbie tag videos, quite often the reason people give for having started a BookTube channel in the first place is that they didn't have everyone in their everyday life to talk to about books. So, their friends, their family aren't avid readers like they are. And so they felt that, that kind of gap. They felt that space in their lives and they filled that by, becoming part of the BookTube community. When you think about movies and music, everyone loves movies. Everyone loves music. So you don't get a community that's built around movies overall or music overall in the same way that we have a community that's built around books overall. They're much more likely to be focused on, a particular director or band or what have you. And I think that's great. So I think that has made BookTube and other online book communities really nice places to hang out. They're very welcoming, they tend to be very polite, and they are, as I said, we as readers are united around our love of reading. And so you don't get that kind of tribalism that you get in a lot of online communities around movies and music. But, and there is a but here, but I think what that can lead to us doing is not questioning each other's choices, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying we should always go around being argumentative with each other, but if you think about like book reviews, for example, that you might see on BookTube, they tend to be positive. They're much more likely to be positive than negative. People are much more likely to want to talk about books they've enjoyed than books they haven't enjoyed. You might see, if there's like a big new release that everyone's talking about, you might see a load of different people doing reviews of that new release, and some, a high percentage of those may be negative. But if people are talking about backlist books, they're much more likely just to talk about books that they enjoy. And what you also tend to see in the comments is comments from people, commenting on that video saying, yeah, I read that book and I really enjoyed it as well. I think people who read that book and didn't enjoy it are much less inclined to comment, which I get, but what that means is if you were only to look at BookTube videos and the comments on BookTube videos, you would think that 95% of the books published were wonderful and everyone loved them, which clearly is not the case. So I do wonder if there's a way that we can start being more honest with each other, and I'm not saying people are being deliberately deceptive, but start being more open about our negative opinions to books, as well as, championing books that we love. I think there is a place for that in this community. I think there is a place for people honestly and politely and civilly saying, that book didn't work for me because X, Y, and Z. I didn't like these things about that book. Sometimes I worry that we can be a little too positive. I love the positivity of BookTube. It's one of the things that makes it such a great place. But as I've said, it can lead to creating this impression that every book is the best thing ever, and there are no bad books. So yes, next time you see me talking about a book like Tigers of Justice on the channel, feel free to say, Ollie, that book looks crap. I will not be offended. And I think we are all adult enough in this community to have that kind of discussion and debate about books, to be able to make videos and to go into the comments and say, actually, I read that book and I didn't like it. I appreciate that, you got wonderful things out of it, but for me, it didn't work. And as long as we do that in a respectful way, I think that's absolutely fine. And I think that will enrich our overall discussion about books, because we are all going to react to books differently. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes the world such a wonderful place, is no two people are the same. So yeah, do let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.